Welcome. You are about to take a journey to a place of the divine love within with Deborah Beauvais on the Love by Intuition show. For the next hour, allow her to prepare you in becoming a magnet for a profound love-infused relationship by identifying and focusing on solutions through love. Awaken the light within and let your essence shine. And now, here's Deborah Beauvais on Love by Intuition, all part of the Dream Vision 7 radio network.
Welcome, everyone. Bonjour, mes amis. And yes, here I am, Deborah Beauvais, founder and owner of the Dream Vision 7 radio network. We are a Boston-based internet radio station. We're syndicated all over the world, so wherever you are, you can listen in many ways, including Alexa, launch or play Dream Vision 7 radio network. So tune in every time you get a chance, wherever you are, because we have such amazing hosts. And what brings me to my guest is actually I first heard her on Scarlett Lewis's Choose Love podcast, and I felt compelled to invite her to the Love by Intuition show. And you can actually go on Dream Visions, the number 7, radio.com, and click on Scarlett Lewis's archives and listen to Dr. Marty, who is my guest. And this was back in March 28th of this year, and you can hear that particular show and what she shares there. So please let me share this. This is a live show. Bob is in the house, and you can call in, ask Dr. Marty a question or or a comment, whatever you'd like, but Bob will put you through, and we'll have you live. So it's the number here is 833-220-1200. Again, 833-220-1200. So my guest is Dr. Marty K. She's the founder of UnGUN Institute, which is a trauma-informed company that specializes in disarming violence on the spectrum. The UnGUN Institute has a holistic approach covering the mind, body, and spirit, and engaging the arts to express and connect to one's personal inner healing. Dr. Marty has also co-created a global observance of Black Sunday, and then she's a she's a person of many talents because she's a singer, a gifted actress, a producer, a director, a writer, and all of that wrapped them up into one person. So without further ado, Dr. Marty, welcome to the show.
Wow, thank you, Deborah. I think you're making me sound a whole lot more exciting than what I think of myself, but you are amazing. Thank you for having me.
Well, you're welcome. But it's all well-deserving because it is who you are. And
it is.
And so let's start with that. I mean, we have so much to discuss with all the things that you have accomplished in making a difference in the human race, and how do you feel? I'm sure you agree, but I believe that all the things that are going on out there, whether it's our systems, whether we, where we don't like the way someone dresses or the color of their skin or whatever it may be, that it all starts within to find out who we are and what kind of thoughts are going in our minds, what kind of belief systems that we hold, whether it's generational, whether it's something that started in our own lifetime. But the bottom line is, and I think I know, Barack Obama said, when we are born, we don't hate, we are taught to hate. So again, I think it's all about going within. How do you feel about that?
Well, I definitely agree with that. And that actually is a very known quote of Dr. Martin Luther King when you heard President Barack Obama reiterate that. It is truly something we've been dealing with for such a long time. And what I love, Deborah, what you just mentioned, the biggest part of that is the generational part of it. Trauma is transferable, and so is healing. So a lot of times, some of the things that we take on, we can't avoid it because it's in our bloodstream. It's part of our DNA. Then it becomes a part of how we were raised and our belief systems and our own personal experiences or even the experiences around us. There were a lot of things that I often say that I was born into violence, but I had to learn how to live around it. And so for me, I'm very intentional about, the energies that are that I'm engaging with and I'm interacting with. Walking into a room, I look around and I look at the body language of individuals and the facial expressions and they're listening to the tone of their voices and just really paying attention to, all of the human aspects of individuals. And that really helps me to not only stay safe, but to also be able to serve. A lot of times I believe we're in situations and we encounter things because I just believe a higher power knows that we can handle and assist and aid someone in a time of need. And trauma has no race, space, or place, right? There's no one on this earth that is exempt of trauma, and you never know when it's going to show up and what could happen. But if you can prepare yourself doing that preventative work and that, those things of just understanding the tools and techniques of what you can do if something was to happen, you can limit the harm. Right, you really can. And so it's just like when speaking of now, my good friend Scarlett, where you first come to know of me, Scarlett just really, she's such a selfless person to continue to share this story and the backstory of what has happened to her that even catapulted her to doing this work, right? And the loss of her son, Jesse. And so she's now helping someone do that preventative work, the things that Scarlett had to learn on the spot, boots on the ground, and got thrusted into a situation. She's gathering that knowledge now, and she's talking about it to others. So we pray that will have never happen, but the reality of it is we live in a world today where we're seeing violence over and over and over and over again. So the likelihood of someone experiencing something like what Scarlett has experienced, it will happen again. But hopefully they will know about the Choose Love movement and be able to respond to their trauma in ways where only Scarlett was able to react.
Right. Beautifully said. And it will continue on, but I do believe that it stops again, and she has been tireless work trying to educate the schools and with all her programs to teach kids about love and they're not alone, and to reach them as children, and that there's a way out of the anger or whatever's going on with them. And I truly believe if we did that with all the kids, some of the adults, it would rub off onto them, but some of the adults may not change their ways, but we can, those people will live their lives and off they'll go, into the light, and hopefully as the generations come, they'll become wiser and more, respectful of the human life. And I think so many people see the violence on a regular basis. It becomes commonplace in their mind, like it's not really happening unless it happens to them.
Yeah, I've seen that side of it too, but I would say I really can only speak to my own situation.
Yes.
And when I was born into it, my father was an alcoholic who actually his father was an alcoholic. Okay, see, now we're talking about those things that pass down, those behaviors, and then the blood what's in the bloodstream, right? And so.
Yes.
Because of that, they reacted with the alcoholism in a very violent way, and so I witnessed my father verbally, physically, mentally abusing my mother more often than I can count, and definitely more often than I would want to remember. There's some very specific things, even as far I can go back in my mind as far back as being 5 years old, hearing a very, very violent fight, and I wanted to go out there and jump in and help my mother, beat the daylights out of my dad. Like, that's what was in my mind at 5 years. I'm being honest, seriously, at 5 years old. And Deborah, listen, to this day, even when the Barbie movie came out, I had to chuckle a little bit because as a little girl playing with my Barbie dolls, if someone was paying attention to the way that I was interacting with my Barbie and my Ken doll and Skipper, remember Skipper was her little sister. I don't know if you remember that doll, but that was all as part of the family of Barbie. Well, if someone was paying attention to the way I was playing with those dolls, they would have picked up on what was going on in my home. I would make my Barbie and Ken doll fight, and Barbie would kick his what, and then her and Skipper would get on the airplane and fly off somewhere way out into another country. Like, this is the way I was playing with my doll, because what I wanted for my mother to win. I wanted my mother to just win one physical fight with my father, and I felt in my heart that he would never put his hands on her again. Well, the way that the physical domestic violence stopped is that my father caused my mother to beat herself up, and she tried to take her life. And I found my mother face down in the restroom, and I had to call 911. My father is no longer with us today, just to kind of show you how tables can be turned. I was on the phone when my father took his last breath. I was on the phone with his doctor, and they had just operated on my father and was basically telling me that he had signed to not be resuscitated more than once, and they had already did that. They called another code blue while I was on the phone, and the code blue was denied. And I literally heard the machine stop on my dad. My mother, to God be the glory, is still here with us today. And as I said to my mother, here you tried to take your life years ago, and you outlived a person who you were so angry with and so hurt by. But you outlived him. So I'm saying all of that to say I had to learn how to deal with all of that in my mind and my brain, and how to ungun it. That's where the word ungun comes from, because we know how to gun up. We know how to, when someone does something to us, we're quick to say, oh, they made me mad. No one can make you mad.
That's right.
And just like no one can really even bring you joy, there may be some things that you may do with someone, and you're having a joyous time with them. But that inner peace or that inner emotions that you feel, that is connected to your system and what you're allowing to come in and what you feel. And so we're not puppets with strings, and no one can just pull a string and go, I'm going to make you mad. It's to be allowed, and we have to learn how to really take good care of ourselves emotionally, learning how to emotionally regulate. Because my brother and I witnessed so much of that violence. Well, do you think we went to school being really, really kind when someone was trying to bully us? No. Those same things that we witnessed, that behavior was coming out. And it took a couple of situations for me to get to a place to say, this isn't making me feel good on the inside. How can I change? And it was my music teacher, God rest her soul. She just passed away unexpectedly 2 weeks ago. And she was so kind, and she said to me, Marty, you're gifted, and doors will open for you. But as soon as they open, sweetheart, they're going to close if you don't change what's going on the inside of you. They didn't call it trauma back then, Deborah, but that's exactly what it was. It was my trauma that was really driving my behavior, and you could just tell that it was attached to anger and hurt and pain. Hurt people, healed people, heal people. And so I wanted to be a person that could heal so I could help others to heal. And that is why I do this work. I want to share one more quick thing. My great-grandmother on my father's side, she was gunned down in her home on Good Friday by a man that had actually broken out of a mental institution in a hospital back in 1978. And he went on, he was breaking, him and two other friends. And I actually have this information in our St. Louis Post-Dispatch. So it's actually two articles that I have, which is how I found out about a lot of the details. And it was written that when they broke into my great-grandmother's home, she really fought back and tried to save her life. I said, oh, wow, see, that's in my DNA right there. Like, I'm my great-grandmother.
Yes.
And so, but she, unfortunately, they got the best of her. They shot and killed my great-grandmother in her home. And later on, this man, the violence that's what landed him in jail. Okay, now, stay with me here a little bit. He was in jail, and he continued to do harm to so many people inside of jail, and so they would add on more years to his situation. And it finally, from 1978 to 1986, do you know what happened to him? He was executed. Mm-hmm. He was executed because he got on that wheel of violence and could not get off, and he happened to be in a state where execution is honored. And that's what happened to him. I wish something like UnGUN was available, and we could have helped this man turn it around from being violent to healing. And that's what we try to do, because violence isn't always something we choose. Sometimes we're born into it, but we still have to learn how to heal from it so that we can be better citizens and better humans inside of a world that we share with other loving people.
Absolutely. Now, I imagine that you had quite a journey to come to where you are today from your childhood, and I'm sure there were ups and downs, challenges that you faced and all, and as we know, when we go within, it isn't something where we heal within 6 months. We're always learning and healing. So what was in you, do you believe? Was it the music teacher, or was it something inside that gave you the inner strength, the power of an amazing black woman? What was it that how you survived and didn't stay in the violence and you broke the cycle?
Well, thank you for that. I think that's an amazing question. I would like to think that I wasn't just made up of violence. Violence was something I was exposed to. I was born into it by being exposed to it. Like, to this day, I don't drink. You know, I made the choice not to drink because I could truly see what we call in UnGUN Institute. We call that trauma tracing. If I trauma trace what alcoholism does to individuals in my family through our bloodstream, well, why would I want to do that? So, so I would like to think that also parts of me is made up out of love. And like my great-grandmother on my mother's side, beautiful woman. She was the baby of 19 children, born in 1910. I didn't, my great-grandmother was in my life until I was like about 33 years old. And so just beautiful, beautiful. And my grandmother and my mother. So I grew up around some amazing, strong Black women, and all of that is also a part of me, is in my DNA and the way that I was raised, and so I knew I wasn't comfortable when I got angry. I wasn't comfortable when someone would make me cry or try to bully me. It made me so uncomfortable. It went against who I was at the core. It was only until I started working on the healing and maintain a level of joy and happiness and just a steady evenness of just balance, right? Like, when you're in that sweet spot and you're balanced. Today is a very balanced day for me. I'm not sad about anything. I'm not anxious about anything. I'm very balanced. And when you can feel that and identify that, you want to stop and trauma trace and say, well, what are some of those things that's making me feel this way today? What did I eat? Who did I talk to? What have I allowed to come into my space? What type of energy have I been filled with? I spend a lot of time in my house. I'm married, and it's just my husband and I that live here at home. But I also have a daughter, stepson, and we have 2 grandchildren. And, so... Thank you, but I'm sharing that to say there's a lot of people in my life that fulfills me, but my biggest enjoyment is when I'm at home alone. When my husband's at work, nobody's at my house. I'm sitting here with no television on, no radio, and I'm reading, and I'm just really kind of just taking in those things to make me feel better, be better, and be knowledgeable about the work that I do. So, to your point, those are the things that I was able to tap into. And you're right. Healing is a way of life. It becomes a lifestyle. It's not a one and done. You're healed. Okay, you don't ever have to worry about that again. No, and especially when there's things that can trigger us, things that can, still take us to a place of remembrance and make us, kind of uncomfortable again. So you got to be aware of those things too, right? Like, I am tricked by people that are, if I'm in a place where there's a lot of drinking going on and it's very apparent that someone is getting belligerent, that's triggering to me because it reminds me of that behavior my father displayed when we were little. I can't be around that type of behavior without feeling anxious.
Right. I totally agree because on my end, it was my mom, not my dad. And no matter how old you become, you can be triggered, but you're aware of what's triggering you, and so you're able to bring in the love and love that person, but from a distance is what I always say. You can forgive, all the things that we need to do for ourselves, not for them, but at the same time support and love them from a distance. And that's a hard one at times. Well, we need to take a break, and I welcome your thoughts when we come back with that, as well as other things we want to talk about when you get started with UnGUN. So everyone stay with us. Don't go away. We'll be back in 2 or 3 minutes. More with Dr. Marty K.
Experience a different yet profound healing with Reconnective Healing. Includes yet expands beyond any and all known forms of energy healing. The Reconnective Healing spectrum is comprised of the full healing and evolutionary continuum of energy, light, and information. It allows for healings that are not just physical, not just mental, not just emotional, yet go beyond that to bring healing that includes the evolution of your very being and essence. Deborah Beauvais, trained and certified by world-renowned Dr. Eric Pearl, offers appointment hours at Seekonk Family Chiropractic in Seekonk, Massachusetts. For questions or to set up both distance or local sessions, call Deborah at 508-431-1959. Again, 508-431-1959. Or go to lovebyintuition.com. That's lovebyintuition.com.
Calling all authors. Have you been considering an audiobook? Well, look no further. Come take advantage of Dream Vision 7 Radio Network's unique in-house audiobook production, which includes benefits and bonuses from our radio station. Let our knowledgeable staff guide you to create the audiobook you've always dreamed of without breaking the bank. Check out our full one-stop service from A to Z, including the ACX process. Schedule a free consultation by calling 508-226-1723. That's 508-226-1723. Or go to DreamVision7Radio.com.
After narrowly surviving the attack on Sandy Hook Elementary, first-grade teacher Caitlin Roy DeBellis was left searching for answers that would never come. Eventually, she chose to focus on questions that could be answered. How do I make sure this tragedy doesn't define us? How do we get our control back? Those two questions led her to found the 501c3 nonprofit organization Classes for Classes. When gifts poured into their classroom, she decided they would help someone else by paying it forward and being kind. This developed into a social network which allows K-8 classrooms to connect so that every student in the United States can learn these crucial lessons. Classes for Classes' mission is to build students' social-emotional intelligence by connecting them to care. All C4C projects are crowd-funded. Any teacher in the U.S. can visit classesforclasses.org. That's classes, the number 4, classes.org. Sign up today.
Delight your kids with an enchanting journey by reading the Paper Doll Kids children's book by Deborah Beauvais and Janine Sullivan. There's even a catchy tune, Kids for Love Song, produced by Bob Sherwood and sung by kids just like yours. The story weaves around 7 paper dolls flying around the world doing good deeds as they bring important attention to our endangered animal friends. There's even a magical ring with a universal message. Kids become interested in service projects, action through compassion, and planting seeds that nurture positive change. The Paper Doll Kids and Kids for Love Song are a production of the Kids for Love Project. Get the book now on Amazon Kindle and the song on CD Baby or iTunes.
This is Dream Vision 7 Radio Network, uniting mankind with universal love. Our shows are created from the heart, bringing each listener to a place of divine enlightenment. Breathe, relax, and enjoy. Let life flow.
And we are back, and we have the honor of having Dr. Marty K with us, and she is the founder of UnGUN Institute, and as she says, hurt people, healed people, heal people, and that makes so much sense. And the other part of Dr. Casey is that in 2020, she was one of the top 25 most influential businesswomen in St. Louis. She is, I just can't say it enough, all the things that you are, Dr. Marty. So again, if anyone out there would like to connect with Dr. Marty, you can go on her site. It's UnGUN, UnGUN, just as it sounds, UnGUNInstitute.com. So tell us about how UnGUN started, and you're using arts. Are you teaching your students and clients art, and then naturally, because of the creativity, and I can realize that they go within and they're healing. But tell us more about the nuts and bolts of it.
Sure. Well, the first thing I want to say, this is a good segue, it's Marty K, Casey. I always put that K in there because there is a fabulous rock star out there, Deborah, by the name of Marty Casey. And if you just put his name, if you just put Marty Casey, you'll get him. But if you put the K, K, then you'll find me. We're doing two different things, and so I just want to make sure you're reaching out. I'm glad that you shared that. Yes, so I always, you can definitely find me under Marty K. Casey. So UnGUN is a collective healing system that's based uniquely with developed tools and techniques that utilizes the arts. It helps us to identify the trauma, like, as I was speaking about earlier, like what happened. We can really, when I told you about how I was playing with those dials, and so we even have social and emotional dials available along with 7 different tools and techniques that actually are included in the dials, to help people identify what could be going on with children through creative play. It also helps to, identify those traumatic incidents and release emotional pain in a very creative and expressive way, right? So we use music, dance, theater, DJ engineering, just all types of things to reach children. So I just believe that art is that it's an additional language to all of the native tongues that are being spoken. But when you use the arts, it's just another way of communicating safely. And everything that we do at UnGUN Institute, we call it giving it a kiss. We keep it simple and safe. Because a kiss can be just such a gentle gesture, just to acknowledge a person and to say I admire you and I thank you and I and I'm connected to you, and that's what we want people to feel like these tools and techniques will do when using them. Then I also thought about I can be kind of quirky sometimes when it comes to this work. And I also want to announce that I am not a medical doctor. Let me please put that out there. I'm not a medical doctor. I have been blessed to receive 2 honorary doctorates, and I'm very grateful for that, because when the people say that you deserve to be honored based off of the work that you've done and how it's helped them, that is, to me, one of the greatest honors one can receive. But I definitely want to make sure that anyone listening understands that. But I can get kind of quirky sometimes, Deborah, and when I looked at the word trauma, Trauma, the first 3 letters of trauma is art backwards. So if you take C-R-A and you turn that around to art, and that's what it feels like when trauma hits. It feels like something is backwards moving in our bodies, in our minds, and spirit. So art turns it around. Art corrects it. Art allows you to say, you know what, I can't change what happened, but I can change how I feel about it. And I can change how I feel about it because I can change how I express it. I can change how I wanted to show up. See, I can tell you that, yes, I started off as a child that was very, very angry and explosive and would fight the wind. I can tell you that. But I can also tell you that same child, when my music teacher put a mic in my hand, it didn't allow me to make a fist to swing it, but it allowed me to make a fist to hold the mic. And that's when I discovered that I had a gift. And that gift could make others in the audience who could hear and witness turn their whole lives around. Like I had the ability to make someone feel something. That's that, again, trauma's transferable, and so is healing. So when I would sing, the healing, the wellness of who I am came through my voice, and it transmuted and it jumped on somebody else, and that energy was felt. And when I saw the power of the art through my trauma, because I turned the A-R-T around, the T-R-A around, and I turned it into the A-R-T. That is what helped me to heal. And I said, well, wow, if I can bottle this up and teach somebody else how to do this, I most certainly will. Well, guess what, Deborah? I bottled it up and I named it UnGUN.
I love it. I love when you said you turned your fist, you put it around the microphone. I mean, the way the verbiage that you just flows out of you, really, it's like a song in itself. It has energy and it's beautiful. And thank you for all your visuals. Yes. And bottling it up. Yeah, I mean, yes, you took your gift. You did your healing, and obviously we're continuing, but you took that gift, like many people are out there searching, who am I, what is my gift? We all have something, and you took it and really cultivated it to where it is today. And, it just brings so much peace to you, I imagine, for all that you're doing, and you're feeding the collective total goodness, total healing, total all of that. And you're right, at the beginning, talking about every person has some level of trauma, and sometimes they don't even realize that it's a traumatic experience, but we are here to learn, that's for sure. So now it sounds like you're working with kids. Are you working with any adults, and are they open?
Oh my gosh, yes, we work with everyone, anyone, anything, anywhere. I tell people I can ungun anyone and anybody from anything except from the grave.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only place I can get you. And so it's important that you allow us to help you in this very holistic approach. Ungun you so that you can live the best life. The 4 principles that UnGUN is built on is give, forgive, heal, live. In order to live your best life, you have to learn to activate that system within. And the way that you activate the system is being able to give. Give yourself some grace so that you can give others grace. Forgive yourself for the things that you may have done that you may not even had any control over, so that you can learn to forgive others for the offenses that they've done, intentionally and unintentionally. Heal yourself so that you can then help others to heal. And then live your best life so you can invite others to live a better life with you and around you. That's how we change communities. We start with self. And then we add our families. And then within our families, we change the mindset of communities. That is what's happening with community violence. And I believe in working from top down. I happen to have a program through UnGUN Institute where we have a anti-gun violence program. I'm the first black woman with an anti-gun violence program to service the state of Missouri after a mass shooting happened in our school 2 years ago in one of the schools here. And I think that to say that put me in the school system to work with the children. And while I was there, Deborah, I realized working with the children is definitely something that's needed. But what I felt was needed even more was being able to have the reach back into the community, the homes, and then the students, because I need those where the students will reside to be able to reinforce what we're teaching them. If I'm teaching the students but there's no one to oversee to reinforce it, it's only going to go back to feeling like it's broken again. So
right, that's a very big, important point. Go right ahead.
Yeah, so for me, I worked inside the schools for the 2 years, and then I said, I really need to kind of, reframe this. And so now what we do at UnGUN Institute, we do workshops, and I do speaking engagements. As you know, Scarlett and I just returned back from Ibiza, Spain, where we co-facilitated a workshop in Ibiza for a week, and that was so transformational. And those were all adults, and these are your peace leaders from all around the globe. So, the work that we do is just as important to reach it from the top and let it filter down so that it can really hold on to its power. And then I'm on my way to Japan in September. I will be co-hosting a week full of events with global leaders during the commemoration of Hiroshima. So my voice will be like the last one to hear before they ring the bell because of the work that I do at UnGUN Institute. UnGUN deals with violence on a spectrum. Like I said, violence and trauma has no race, face, or place. It doesn't. And so we deal with violence from bullying to domestic violence, suicide prevention to gun violence prevention, and all those things in between, like hate speech and racism, and just you name it. We that's what we deal with. Anything that brings permanent scarring and hurt and pain to individuals and how we connect with each other as humans. UnGUN is what goes in to help to correct that behavior and get you back centered, because what we understand, it starts with you. That's why that U in UnGUN is a part of our logo, that big U. In the art, the word art is in the U of our logo, because all of this work starts with you. I'm not here to be a political voice, even though I call myself an activist, so I'm a professional actress and, combined as with an activist. I chose to become a professional actress in order to heal from my trauma, and I became an activist in order to stand up for those who feel voiceless of trying to live within their trauma in communities, So with that being said, activist is what best describes me. But the last thing that I want to say is that if we start with ourselves, we could probably look at what's happening right now with a war. And the person who went to the war was Putin. And if I could UnGUN Putin, I could stop the war. And if we stop the war, then we can save the lives of all of the individuals that whose lives are at risk because this war is taking place. So really, trauma tracing takes us back to the root cause. It's that one person. If I could reach Putin, I tell you, I would UnGUN him in a second.
I'm with you on that, and kudos for you to state that, because it could, it's possible. It's possible, and that's how, killing doesn't solve killers.
Nope.
Guns don't solve guns. More guns do not stop killing with guns. I mean, it's all of that, and so it's getting to his soul. It's getting to UnGUN him, and then all of this would fall away. And there's some others on that list too that you could UnGUN, so that they could see the higher purpose of why we're on Earth. We're not here to annihilate each other. We're here to work with each other, and there's so much work to be done.
Absolutely. And death is so final. That's just the bottom line. Death is final. So anytime you choose something the game is over. I use that as an analogy to children. I'm like, how do you feel when you're playing a game and you realize that you lost and they say it's game over? How does that make you feel? Oh, I get so mad. I get sad. And then I'm like, I play for a couple of days, and then I come back and I play again. And I said, oh, well, that's good that you're able to come back and play again. Because when you pick up a gun and you decide to take a life, game is over, and there's no coming back from that.
Right.
There's no It's final. Yeah. I said, so I really need you to understand it's in your choice. It's in your choice and the decisions that you make that will determine what is going to happen after that decision. And I need to keep you out of the red zone. I need you, in the colors that UnGUN deals with is red, yellow, green, and we call those zones. And if I can keep you out of the red zone, which is the danger zone, where all of the violence happens, I want you to breathe in that yellow zone. I want you to breathe until you can maintain and be able to make the best choice and decision for yourself to move you to the green. Living in the green. Oh, gosh, beauty. That's where you are when you're going to inhale the best, biggest, brightest breath you can ever think about taking. You'll be able to feel and smell the difference between the zones when you get to that green zone, that living in the green. And that's where you have self-control and self-respect and self-love. That's you. That's who you are. And you don't belong in that red zone at all. When you're in that red zone, that means there's some interaction happening between you and someone else in a very violent way, even if it's suicide. that is still a connection between you and someone else. You've gotten to the point and place of feeling like something or someone is on your neck so bad that you want to just give up. I said, you have to learn to live in the green. You can live in the green all by yourself. You can skip through the meadows. And I sit here in my home, I told you, Deborah, by myself with no TV on, no nothing going, because I enjoy me. I love me.
And you're feeling the reverence of life itself, nature, everything around you. So hold that thought, because we need to take our last break. Everyone, don't go away. We'll be back in 2 or 3 minutes.
Take a journey to a place of the divine love within with Deborah Beauvais on the Love by Intuition Show, Monday through Friday at 6 p.m. and 6 a.m. Eastern. Our message is love in the purest form. The light within us all is a guide to recall our beginning, to learn to love self and humankind, and to feel the higher power of our own divinity. To attract love, one needs to be love. Come join us and step into this glorious vibration called love.
Delight your kids with an enchanting journey by reading the Paper Doll Kids Children's Book by Deborah Beauvais and Janine Sullivan. There's even a catchy tune, Kids for Love Song, produced by Bob Sherwood and sung by kids just like yours. The story weaves around 7 paper dolls flying around the world doing good deeds as they bring important attention to our endangered animal friends. There's even a magical ring with a universal message. Kids become interested in service projects, action through compassion, and planting seeds that nurture positive change. The Paper Doll Kids and Kids for Love Song are a production of the Kids for Love Project. Get the book now on Amazon Kindle and the song on CD Baby or iTunes.
Are miracles real? Can you move from mayhem to miracles? 30 prominent authors say yes as they share their high fives and down lows of challenges, abuse, addiction, and love. Experience hope, the magic elixir of miracles, through the personal stories of New York Times best-selling authors James Redfield, Dr. Bernie Siegel, Sister Jenna, Reverend Temple Hayes, and many more. If you like bestsellers, chaos to clarity, and crappy to happy, you'll love crying and laughing through mayhem to miracles. Sacred stories of transformational hope. Available now on Amazon and in bookstores worldwide.
It's a child's job to play, to learn, and to have fun. It's an adult's job to keep them safe. Did you know that 1 in 4 girls and 1 in 6 boys will be sexually abused before the age of 18? Every day, families enter the Children's Advocacy Center because a child's courage to tell someone what happened to them. Keeping our children safe starts with a conversation. This is Michelle Aranger, Executive Director of the Children's Advocacy Center. Learn more on how to keep your child safe. Visit cacofbc.org. This message made possible by the Fall River Rotary Club.
This is Dream Vision 7 Radio Network, uniting mankind with universal love. Our shows are created from the heart, bringing each listener to a place of divine enlightenment. Breathe, relax, and enjoy. Let life flow.
You can still call in, but you'll have to call quickly because the time is running out. The number here is 833-220-1200. Bob is in the house, and he can put you right through to talk with Dr. Marty K. Casey and myself, Deborah Beauvais. And if you would like, I know you want to get in touch with Dr. Marty, go on her site. It's UnGUN, just as it sounds, UnGUNInstitute.com. Can you tell us a little bit about, as you were co-created that global observance for Black Sun Day, how did that come together, and tell us a little bit about it?
Sure. Thank you so much for that. This is a global observation that takes place every second Sunday in August, and it really was a response to what actually had taken place in my own hometown here in St. Louis 10 years ago when Michael Brown was shot and killed by a police officer. Again, I try not to put myself in a political space of who's right, who's wrong. I look at it as the violence took a life, right? And there was some that we possibly could have done to ungun that. And so in order to keep individuals safe from, the result of things that continue to keep them in violence and harm, sometimes just being a black man, it feels as if they're walking around with a with a target on the back. And we really have to talk about what is the cause, what's the root cause of these things, and how do we keep our black boys and men safe. And this is a day where we use this time to, really educate and inform individuals of what's going on and how we can just show up better and be better in relationship with everyone around us. And so the very first time we did this was on Zoom during 2020, and we had over 50,000 people tuning in as we did what they call sine waves, and that connected us to all these other networks that was able to get others to tune in and watch from their network connecting with our network. And I just couldn't believe the outpouring of those who understood that we were facing a crisis and we really need to talk about it and do something about it. So I've interviewed Michael Brown's mother. The second year I interviewed his father. The third year it's been we've even interviewed George Floyd's uncle. And we're just really kind of just trying to be proactive and doing what we need to do. So Black Sunday is Black SON Day. And it's really let's lift up the sons of those who are, loved by their mothers, and let's honor all sons who are loved by their mothers, no matter what race or where they come from. Let's just practice loving one another. And I during the break, I heard that voiceover to say, to feel love, one needs to be loved. And wow, I was clapping so hard over here because that is the truth. To feel love, one needs to be loved. And if you, a lot of times when we talk about that generational curses and the generational trauma that's been passed down, black boys have not been loved. And so we can't expect them to feel it if we have not given it first. And that's why, again, those 4 principles of UnGUN is give, forgive, heal. I tell people if it's something that you want, if you give it first, you'll already receive it.
Right. Do you think a lot of it, too, is education? Because, there are, as you probably well know, there are a lot of people that just don't understand, or they can't envision themselves as a black man or a black woman. They can't envision. They can't put their themselves in the shoes to feel that. And one of the things I always say is that, why not all of us be a black man for a week? And see, or a young black man for a week, just a week, and see what it completely feels like in every aspect of your day-to-day. And then make your judgment. And then change your belief systems, because now you've had an opportunity to feel it and be it. So I even talked to God about that. I wish everyone could have that feeling, and we can take it from there to other cultures that are preyed upon. So that's my thought process there. We only have a few minutes, but I wanted to ask you, especially for the work you do, I like to ask my guests, how do you see the world, Dr. Marty?
Well, I want to answer what you just asked, and then I'll answer how do I see the world. But the first thing I want to say, I don't think we have to necessarily role play and pretend to be something that we're not. We have to just make the choice to accept. We have to just do that, because when I think about, I've never had to pretend to be, and I am by no means am I comparing an animal to a human, but I'll just say I love dogs so much, and I grew up with dogs, all types. I've never had to pretend to be a dog to love a dog. And I don't feel like we need to pretend to be something that we're not in order to have compassion for it, to have empathy for it, and to have acceptance and to have love. I will never be a tall person. I don't have to pretend to be tall in order to have respect for a tall person, honor or love a tall person, and I would hope that they don't have to pretend to be short in order to reach me. So it's just things that we should automatically, as humans, decide to do that through our choice, through our processing of knowing that what connects us is the fact that we're all human beings.
True.
If you don't
make a good point.
Yeah. So if you don't feel that way, this is where the challenge is. Before we go into that last minute, this is where the challenge is. If what I just said, and if you're still struggling, then where the struggle is, if I trauma trace it, you're not seeing us as being 100% human, and there lies the problem. It's not me. Human. The problem would be you.
Yes. So, well said. Well, we only have 2 minutes, so...
Okay. So to answer your question, how do I see the world? I see the world singing, dancing, creating, connecting, loving, being, breathing. If I could get the whole world to take a breath together, inhale, and then slowly exhale, and we blow out all those things that does not serve us, all those things that does not uplift us, does not honor us as human beings. We need to just blow those things back out into the atmosphere until they disappear. That's what we need to do. And that is the spirit of ungunning. Getting rid of, doing away with, letting go of anything that does not serve you from the inside. Inhale in the breath of peace and exhale out anything to release that's holding you back for loving someone who loves someone like you and me.
Beautiful. I love it. Thank you.
Thank you, Deborah. Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. It's been an honor to have you, Dr. Marty, and it's been a privilege to be able to hear everything that you do and what you're about, what your soul is here to do. It's been just a joy to have you, so I thank you very much for coming on the show. And for everyone listening, do connect with Dr. Marty K. Casey. Go on her site, UnGUNInstitute.com. Follow what she's doing. Find out more of what she's doing and get involved. Volunteer, whatever you can do. And pass this show along so everyone can hear this episode and all the episodes for that matter. And we'll leave you with love, going within, finding the beauty of who you are just as you are. You don't have to change anything, just as you are, and start there and do that breathing in and out and just relaxing and getting to know who you really are. So with that said, everyone, au revoir.
Are you seeking a clearer path to love? Then tune in to the Love by Intuition show next week. All designed to your highest good. To contact Deborah Beauvais, owner of Empowered Connections, call her at 508-226-1723. That's 508-226-1723. Or link on to lovebyintuition.com. Remember, we are all one, and we are all part of the miracle of love.
This is Dream Vision 7 Radio Network, uniting mankind with universal love. Our shows are created from the heart, bringing each listener to a place of divine enlightenment. Breathe, relax, and enjoy. Let life flow.